Yo, what's happening everybody, King GBL here, and welcome back to a brand new Go Bat Like video. Today we're going to be showcasing Palossand in the Retro Cup. We've got a pretty fun and spicy team here. It's a triple ghost team of Trevenant and Frostless in the back, and we have a very interesting moveset on these back two Pokemon. We're going to be running these with Foul Play and Crunch, which of course will give you a little bit more coverage against like some of the Pokemon that are weak to Dark types, but are of course not weak to Shadow Ball. Things like the normal Psychic types that I was showcasing yesterday, like a Ranguru, Girafarig, and of course there just are generally quite a lot of normal types in this meta, so I think that's why he's going for like a bit of a funny moveset here. Big shout out to Vala for sending in these battles, thank you very much, it's very much appreciated. Palossand was a Pokemon that was released this season, but we haven't really seen the light of day with this Pokemon yet, because of course we've had a lot of limited metas, Ultra League and all that kind of stuff, and this will be the first time we're having a look at this in an open meta, like the Retro Cup. When these new Pokemon drop, you can always do practice battles and see what they're like, but you never really get a full gauge of how this Pokemon performs, unless you run it into a full meta. So we're going to see what it can possibly do here, and this should be a fun and interesting one. Now one thing I'm thinking straight away here is we've got a Medicham, which you would think that Pokemon would beat, and of course it can land Earth Powers on Lantern. The joint ground typing with Palossand is more of a hindrance than a help in my personal opinion, but we're going to see how it plays out, and hopefully we can land some nukes with this thing. Thank you very much to Vala for sending in these battles. If you wish to send in some battles of your own, there will be a link in the description for the Google Drive form, and of course a link to our Discord. Send me in some battles for either of those, whether they be spicy teams, fun teams, meta teams, whatever the case may be. Feel free to send those in, and I will drop a reaction to those. Once again, thank you very much everybody for all the support on these videos. If you haven't done so yet, please take a second, pause the video, hit that like button, and you know what, while you're at it, Billy, while you're at it, hit that subscribe button. It is absolutely free, Billy. And you know what as well? You can turn on notifications, and you will get notified every time your favorite content creator, King GBL, uploads a brand new video every single day. It's absolutely fantastic, so go on ahead and do that, and let's hop into the battles. So we have a very positive match here, and the good thing about Foul Play is that you actually get to it faster than Shadow Ball. It does not do quite the same damage, of course, but it can do very well in the mirror match, and of course, like I said, it's a little bit cheaper. Now we get an interesting lead here. Is that two Altaria leads in a row? We're going to look to go for Shadow Ball immediately, or maybe Overfarm. The opponent's going to fire off a move. Now we're going to have a little bit of a bulk check in this Pokemon. With all them Dragon Breaths and Sky Attack, we're getting very, very low. So we're going to look to farm up to almost back-to-back Shadow Balls. And we're going to put in a ton of damage with the first one, and maybe look to either take them out, or get a shield off them the second time. The opponent shields up the first one here. We're going to go straight for the second one. We cannot afford to let this Pokemon onto our Trevenant, so we're just sort of happy enough to stay in here. To be fair, it's not the worst match in the world for Trevenant, but you would definitely much prefer this on Frostless. You can come in here, look to go for a full farm down, the opponent aggro swaps out. It is Cofagrigus, and we're running Crunch on this thing. The opponent might be thinking, oh, they're just going straight for the Avalanche. Ladies and gents, they're in for a surprise here, because this is not an Avalanche. Boom! They shielded because they must have realized, and we get the defense drop. This tree is going to start scratching away at the Coffin. The Coffin is going to throw a Dark Pulse. But will the Coffin realize that we're running a double moveset of Dark on these ghost types? Let's have a look. We farm up to 7 here, so the opponent should be able to expect this. And actually, to be fair, the Shadow Claws have done so much damage. I probably would have thrown Seed Bomb here, just to not give away the moveset, but the opponent's probably thinking, what the hell is going on? Why is this guy running double Dark moves on these bloody things? In comes Altaria. We're going to respect the Sky Attack, and one Foul Play from this range, including all of the Shadow Claws, will definitely take out the Altaria, and I think these two Pokemon should be more than capable of sweeping this match, and this is looking like it's going to be game over for the opponent. I'm sure the opponent is just basically absolutely furious that we're running Foul Play. It is a Swampert in the back. Can they get to the Hydro Cannon in time? Do we go for the catch? We go for the CMP? That is absolutely fantastic. Were we just 5 off? I thought they were going to slightly outpace us, but we must have just been 5 off, and that'll absolutely one-shot the Swampert. You love to see it. Trevenant, a Pokemon that you don't see too often in this meta, but it cannot be forgotten about. This Pokemon is still super strong. Now it looks like we swapped up the lead here, and it worked very, very well. We're coming into Trevenant here on this thing. Of course, we don't want to eat the Surfs on Palossand. 2 Thunderbolts from this thing will get pretty close to taking us out, so we can go for Slide Over Farm, but we certainly cannot look to farm this down. As you can see with these Sparks, it will start getting us into the yellow, so we can comfortably enough live 2 Thunderbolts, of course, but it will start getting us quite low. The opponent has no incentive to shield it, and as you're about to see here, they could maybe look to go for back-to-back Surfs, which would output the most damage here, which will look to get us very low, and may force a shield. Boom, they go for Thunderbolt, which is perfect, which means that we can commit to the farm down, no problem whatsoever, and we're in a just amazing position here. In comes a Trevenant of their own. We're running Trevenant, and now they're running Trevenant. That's just how this goes sometimes. Foul Play coming through. The opponent lets the Foul Play go. Not expecting that, of course, but we had like 1,000,000 energy, so I think they were just ready to sacrifice this thing. They may shield it up, but no, of course they just sacrificed the Trevenant. Now in comes Dragonite, and this Dragonite, well, they've maybe seen the writing on the wall there, but Frostless was going to come in and just basically 5 Powder Snow it down or something. So it looks like we swapped up the lead and this seems to be working a lot better, because it felt like we were just kind of sacrificing Palo on the lead, like getting off the damage, getting a shield advantage, which of course is quite good, but you know, you do want to get some work in with it. So we're going to eat this first one. This is a non-shadow and they go for body slam. You absolutely love to see it. This mad lad is not going for the correct move here, and this avalanche will look to one-shot. Will the opponent respect it? They just let it go. I think they're just so disappointed in themselves that they decided to back out of that one. We're going to look to go for a crunch here, and the opponent's probably thinking, oh yeah, I can eat one of these moves, no problem. No problem. Was that a CMP tie? That would be perfect, and a defense drop would be even better. We don't get the defense drop, which is a 30% chance, by the way, unless the opponent's using it against you, in which case it's a 99% chance. We get out of there on 1 HP into Trevenant. The opponent may not have even realised, but they do swap out to Ghoulbat, and at this point, we're going to look to spam off these foul plays. Now, depending on whether they shield or not, these foul plays will be better or worse than the Shadow Ball. The opponent lets it go, so in that situation, the Shadow Ball would have been much better. I've considered using these ghost types with these funny movesets, but, you know, in a lot of occasions, you just wish you had the proper move, because that would have come really close to taking it out. With these Shadow Claws, you probably could have taken it out. So a little bit unfortunate there for sure, but we do get a shield off the opponent, and at this point, Frostlass is going to come in and just absolutely do nothing because it's almost dead. Palossand is going to come in and just absolutely sweep this team. We're going to single resist farm down this Ghoulbat. Shadow Ball probably coming through, or sorry, Poison Fang probably coming through. They do threaten the Shadow Ball. Do we go for a catch? We don't go for a catch on this occasion. We do have to respect this, and we can get the farm down. It's just another Poison Fang. You absolutely hate these opponents. Can we get the farm down? We do go for the catch. Do they get to the move in time? They just about don't. And can we one-shot? We can look to one-shot the Lantern, ladies and gents. We have the Earth Power loaded. Palossand, the big sandcastle coming through, just absolutely nukes the Lantern, except for it doesn't nuke it, and the Lantern gets off a Surf. Will the Surf take us out? Ladies and gents, the Surf does not take us out, and we're going to look to farm this fucker down. So good games, well played, and yeah, Palossand. You know, you would sort of hope that because it's so glassy it would hit harder, and this right here looks like a good lead. Of course, it takes them 9 Powder Snows to get to the move. It'll take us 7 to get to, well, 6 in this case, to get to the crunch. I feel like you probably do consider threatening the Shadow Ball anyway, but I guess you're just trying to trick the opponent. We do get the 30% chance defense drop, which you'd love to see, meaning that one more crunch will take them out. The only way the opponent can win this match is really by baiting, so they are going to go for Icicle Spears here, of course, and we're going to look to go for crunches. Again, I thought this might be a good idea, but I think this is just worse in every scenario, for the most part. I realized later on, and I was even told by somebody, like, you know, avalanches against those Giraffe Rigs and Ranguru will two-shot it anyway. I don't think there's really anything you can look to one-shot with Crunch. However, we will be getting the final shield, or the knockout on the opponent. So I think in this situation, because the move is a little bit cheaper, it has actually worked out a little bit better. We're getting a shield advantage, and the opponent does get another defense drop. Now we're going to look to come in with Palossand. Man, is it just me, or does this thing just not hit that hard? And also, it's glassy. Like, you know, the Vala, he calls his Pokemon Palo shit, and I'm starting to see why. At least we win CMP and Wolverine, that is something. We're going to go for the Earth Power to look to one-shot this thing. I feel like this Pokemon is just sitting in a very interesting range where it's not bulky, it's not super glassy, it doesn't hit particularly hard, it's not particularly weak. It's just kind of like a middle-of-the-road Pokemon, it seems like, where it doesn't really have any sort of niche where it's like nuking things, but at the same time, it's not really living a lot of moves. Like, these Dragon Breaths are ripping us apart, and I feel like this will take us out. Altaria being quite a bulky Pokemon, it does hit quite hard, but, you know, you would just sort of hope that with a Pokemon that's not really nuking things, that you could do a little bit better. Now, this thing probably has Foul Play, so we're probably in a bit of a rough position here. I think this is again where you want Shadow Ball. Does that take them out? It does take them out anyway. So we're very thankful for that. Can we get to the Foul Play in time? Okay, we just about do. So maybe in this situation, actually having Foul Play is better, because they might have just got to the move in time. That does take them out. So actually, in that situation, you're seeing some very, very unique and niche situations where having the lower cost move is working out for us. Now, we get a pretty bad lead, I would say. Of course, we resist Lunge, but, you know, we're actually pretty good for this thing. Like, I would probably consider, like, safe swapping at some point here. We do, unfortunately, CMP the opponent. What will they go for? They go for the Discharge straight away. Now, this will come very, very close to one-shotting, so I feel like we're going to get a shield advantage and look to come into the Sandcastle and see what we can do. Looks like we're staying in here, so this is quite interesting for sure. Of course, with the bug typing, we go for another CMP here as well. We're pretty much forced to go for CMP, because they will farm us down. This will probably be Lunge, and yeah, in comes probably Palossand at this point. We're going to look to get a huge farm here. With the ground typing, we're resisting these moves. With the ghost typing, we're looking to resist everything. So we can look to get a huge overfarm here, and look to take this Pokemon out. If this Pokemon does not want to get a ton of farm on them, the opponent needs to either swap out, or of course in this case they're going to take the Shadow Ball and come into whatever's good against Palossand. Probably a Lantern, it's probably just Lantern, bro. Water Gun Lantern coming through. show me the Water Gun Lantern. Or the, oh, it's a water type, I was close. Oh, Water Gun Blastoise, okay. In comes Trevenant. And the opponent here is not swapping out, which is very interesting. Now it takes them, I believe, 14 water guns to get to the Hydro Cannon. I believe it takes 20 for the Ice Beam. And on the second time around, the Hydro Cannon's 13. So they're very, very spammy here, even with Water Gun. And we'll see what the opponent decides to do. Most likely going for a Hydro Cannon bait, because 2 Hydro Cannons will pretty much take us out anyway. And it's probably not worth the risk. In comes a Jellicent here. And again, this is where you want Shadow Ball. It's going to look to pretty much one-shot it. But yeah, like, we're only sort of getting them like halfway down. I guess this could work out fine because we can go for an Overform. The opponent's going to throw a Surf because they only know one move whenever you have one shield, and that is Surf. And at this point, are we going to look to maybe sacrifice the Palo? I feel like we should. Oh, we get the farm down, that's beautiful. And at this point, we'll have two Seed Bombs, which will look to take out the Blastoise. In fact, this first one's going to come very close to taking it out, and we should be able to get a farm down here. Very, very good games, well played. I want to ask you guys a question, because I know you're all definitely watching 10 minutes into the video. Do you think Trevenant deserved to get nerfed last season? I'm personally not convinced, because I think now that Noctowl has a lot more answers, Medicham is just running free in the meta, right? Like in the regionals, was it like 80% of teams had a Medicham or something? And you see it absolutely everywhere in the Open Great League. And with the Trevenant nerf, the main answer to Medicham these days is Sableye. And even Sableye does not have the most amazing match in the world with Medicham. Of course it is a winning matchup, but they can usually get off 1 or 2 Ice Punches, depending on whether or not you further return. Medicham seems to be all-powerful in the Open Great League, and I think Trevenant was of course like the main answer to Medicham and Lantern. So you're seeing those two Pokemon that are pretty much free in the meta. Trevenant being one of the main answers of course to both of them Pokemon, being nerfed, which kind of gives it less play in neutral situations, and gives you less opportunity to bait Seed Bombs. I think it's definitely hurt that Pokemon quite a lot. Of course you can see it from the PvPoke rankings, it has completely got obliterated. But do you think that Trevenant should have been nerfed? I personally think not. And certainly in Medicham, you know, people are talking about nerfing Counter and nerfing Medicham in some way. It's always been in my opinion that Ice Punch is the reason why it's so overpowered. And same with Noctowl, it's Shadow Ball, right? You know, what makes a Pokemon overpowered? Being able to beat what you're supposed to lose to. Like Medicham is supposed to lose to Trevenant, you can Ice Punch it. It's supposed to lose to Noctowl, you can Ice Punch it. Lantern's supposed to lose to Galarian Stunfisk, you can Surf it. You know, Noctowl's supposed to lose to Galarian Stunfisk, you can Shadow Ball. So like, that's what makes Pokemon overpowered in my personal opinion. The game would be 2 RPS in my opinion if like, all of those Pokemon were just so one-dimensional. But at the same time, if they're so powerful that they're flipping matchups that they shouldn't really win, it kind of makes them overpowered and overused, and that's kind of what we're seeing at the moment. I think Trevenant being nerfed was actually a step in the wrong direction. We had some steps in the right direction with, you know, some Pokemon that can deal with Noctowl, but to be fair, like, Noctowl's not really as answered as you would think it is. Like, Noctowl doesn't even have a terrible match against Alolan Sandslash. Again, Shadow Balls, like, you live in Ice Punch, and Shadow Balls do a lot of damage. So like, to be fair, when you really think about the meta this season, has it really changed? I don't really think so. I know I'm going off on some really, like, huge tangent here. I do think it is an interesting thing to think about. However, I think even with the season updates we've had, a lot of people like to kind of go back to what they're used to, which will be the Medichams, Noctowls, and Lanterns. I think out of the newly buffed Pokemon, Sandslash and Dugong are definitely 2 of the biggest winners in my personal opinion, unless I'm forgetting about something. But I think in general, we've had a few like Band-Aid fixes to certain different Pokemon, which I'm always a huge fan of. I like using variety in different types of Pokemon that don't really necessarily get a huge play in the meta, so I'm always a huge fan of that, to see Pokemon getting buffed and getting some more play. But I don't think the meta has shifted as much as you would have wanted. I think the 2 Pokemon that are just completely free right now are Medicham and Lantern. Noctowl has a lot more answers to it now, and Lantern is just running so free right now, without Trevenant basically countering it left, right and centre. And of course Medicham is the same. The main answer these days to Medicham is of course either Noctowl, which, you know, Medicham, like I mentioned, has a decent match against, and Sableye, which once again is not the worst match in the world, because it has the joint Dark and Ghost typing. So I think the main thing that we're going to have to look for in terms of a meta shift will be Carbink. You're going to see here in the Retro Cup, before the Great League comes back, and of course in the Open Great League, we're going to have, basically for the rest of the season, all of the Open Great League will be dominated by Carbink, and the only way people can get that without paying for the ticket, which I think you can no longer get the research for anyway, and we'll be waiting until August 19th or 18th for GoFest, which at that time will basically allow people to raid that Pokemon and then you maybe look to go for trades. I personally think Carbink will be better with attack weight, because with attack weight, you can beat Lantern, you can beat Alolan Sandslash, which is crazy if you think about it. Of course you destroy Noctowl, Lantern, Medicham. you just completely wreck the entire meta. And that actually might help out Trevenant a little bit, because of course it knows Shadow Claw, and you're going to have a lot of Pokemon that are going to countering it, right? So what do you think is going to counter Stinky Binky, Carbink, aka Baby Yoda, aka Pedowin? What's going to counter that Pedowin Pokemon? It's going to be the ground types and the like Swamparts and things, right? What's good against those? Trevenant. What is Trevenant also good against? Medicham. Even though it's nerfed, it's still good. So like, maybe this is the shakeup we need. I think it's unfortunate that it is Pedowin, but this is the shakeup I think we need. You will be able to get it, of course, ready for next season, and if you want to use it in the Catch Cup, the Catch Cup is going to be completely littered, and I mean completely littered with Stinky Binky. Stinky Binky's going to be everywhere, and my prediction was correct about this team that the opponent's using here, by the way. So anyway guys, let me know your thoughts and opinions about that, and would you guys like me to make like specific videos for these topics? I feel like I should, but I just never bother. I just kind of throw them into these battles. Pretty like normal lead. I think this is positive as long as it's not Shadow. And this is an IV dependent CMP as well. We do end up going for, I think that was a CMP. We do end up going for the Crunch. I think you go for Avalanche here, because it is a stab move and will do a little bit more damage. But I think the reason we're going for that is to go for the debuff. Really nice catch. If the opponent goes for Earthquake here, they're stupid. They go for Hydro Cannon. Okay, thank goodness, bro. You don't need to go for Earthquake on Frostlass. And in comes a Golbat. Once again, we're going to fire this move off. I think the opponent's CMPs is on the Poison Fang. They're just super scared of this thing. So, of course, they're just trying to get rid of it. They let that move go. So that works out a little bit better in that situation once again. And I think we're going to look to come and farm this boy down with the Frostlass. And look to basically just get ahead on energy. The opponent, they should be on like one off a Hydro Cannon. So we do need to get this extra farm. Unfortunately, they will get off a debuff, but we can live that, of course. I think we'll be counting here. Was that even enough for a Shadow Ball? I'm sure he was counting, but not me. I think that might have been just a Poison Fang. I'm not 100% sure, but we're going to get a huge farm down nonetheless, and we're in an even shielding scenario. Back in comes Swambass. They do go for the move, and we can look to just basically back-to-back crunch here. Like one of these crunches or avalanches will pretty much take it out. We're going to go for a slight overfarm. Okay, so they just basically denied us by throwing the move. I think that's why it looked a little bit weird. Boom, crunch coming through. And we're going to look to fire off the next move after overfarming by one. So I think the opponent's just going to be getting to a move here in maybe like one or two more mud shots. That doesn't quite take out. I think you do just have to go for the avalanche there, which would have done a slight bit more damage, but maybe we can get a nice farm down with the Sandmeister here. In comes the Trevenant. We are going to look to absolutely one-shot this thing. Can we get to the move? We do just about get to the move in time. And I don't think the Swampert is going to be able to get to enough moves to take us out. Boom! That's going to take care of the Trevenant. And at this point, we're going to farm this bad boy down. Will he get off a Hydro? No, just about not. That's a good game. So if you're an absolute Spice Lord and you want to try out this Pokemon, I mean, you could definitely go for it. I think it knows another ground type move, which is a bit cheaper, like Sand Tomb or something. So that is consideration for you if you want to go for that. And we're staying in here for a second. I'm assuming we're going for a catch here on the Palo. Yep, beautiful catch. I seen him tapping next to it, so I'm like, okay, I see what you're cooking. I see what you're cooking. Rock Slide coming through, that just absolutely does nothing to the Sandcastle. Sandcastle survive Rock Slides, apparently. You're seeing it here first, folks. They're going for another move, which is really interesting. The fact that they're staying in here, I guess that does chip quite a lot, and we can go for big Earth Power. Now, if they don't shield this, I'm going to delete this app and delete my channel because they have to, right? Okay, so they're staying in for a reason. So they're weak to the Palo Boy in the back. Now, what could they possibly have that's weak to Palo Boy? What is Ground strong against? What is Ghost strong against? Well, the thing that comes to mind here is there probably is a Frostlass in the back, because it is this cup, and I think we could be looking to get a second shield here. So if they are weak to some sort of a ghost type, we're in an amazing position here because we have two more where that came from. Now the opponent obviously is aware of the Frostlass, and we may be looking to come in and getting a nasty farm down with Frostlass. Up a shield. Well, actually we're not even up a shield. I think we're looking just to get this move off straight away, because this will do the most damage to us most likely. And we're going to see what the opponent decides to do. We do go for the crunch, once again revealing the moveset. And in comes the Lantern. So yeah, I was thinking perhaps this could be Lantern, because of course they don't want to take the ground damage. The opponent throws the Surf straight away, which is amazing. We know we can definitely live this. In general, the opponent does go for straight for Surf, and that's absolutely fine. In comes a Frostlass. We're ahead in energy. Will they expect the foul play here, folks? I feel like the opponent may just respect this, because they don't want to get Shadow Clawed down. But yeah, the opponent does. But we're going to outpace, and that's the amazing thing here. This may have been getting close, of course, if it was Shadow Ball, and we may have had to go for a bait, but we can just go straight Crunch. And we're going to see, yeah, this will definitely take it down at this range, and we're in a great position now. The opponent dumped off their energy pretty immediately, and we're going to look to go for a sweep with Trevenant. Love to see it, and that's a good game. Yeah, so just to kind of finish off on that topic from earlier, The one thing I did want to say is, what sort of disappoints me about these decisions by Niantic is the fact that they're making it pay to win, but I hate the fact that like Community Day Pokemon are always crap. You know, it seems like everything's so backwards now. I know that's like just, you know, throwing a bit of a side tangent in at the end here, but it's just something that came into my mind. We've had so many Community Day Pokemon and new Pokemon like Palossand, which have just been terrible. So it really just makes you wonder what their priorities are. But I'm sure you can probably guess. Thanks very much, everybody. Hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. Hit that like button, it's very much appreciated. Subscribe to the channel and go ahead and put on notifications. Link in the description if you want to send in some battles. And of course, join us in Discord. We have an amazing community in there. We do streams, we do all that fun stuff in there. So come join us, and thank you very much for watching.